Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to this board. To his left is Peter Hans, a planner, senior planner in the planning department. To his left is Tom O'Brien, a planner in the planning department. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give Board of Appeals additional powers such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals, etc. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variances deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, setback, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The board requires statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance it shall deem necessary and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Special exception applications are different than area variance. When we have a special exception application before us, I will explain the different criteria for each. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. O'Brien, and then you will be sworn in at the podium. You will be given the opportunity to explain to this board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. And then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. Number 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. Number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. Okay. The first case tonight is case 16832, Mikhail and Joanna Corp. Mr. Tramarko?
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tramarko. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Tom O'Brien. At this time, we respectfully request an adjournment to the second meeting in January, as the case should have been advertised as a non-conforming dealership as opposed to a non-conforming repair garage, so we have to re-advertise it.
Okay. Was there anyone here for that case? Okay. That has been now, I'll make a motion that it has been adjourned to January 22nd. All right? All right?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you here for the next case?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me read the next one. Next case is case 16833, Isaac and Jacqueline Tubbs, 25 Wyndham Crescent, Kings Park, location, east side of Wyndham Crescent, north of Rumford Road, Kings Park. Property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 10 for an existing 44 square foot second floor addition. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 8 for an existing 514 square foot roof over deck, and total side yards from 28 feet to 18. Reduce the distance of a dwelling with an attached deck to an existing pool from 10 feet to 3. Reduce the setback from any lot line from 6 feet to 3 for an existing 196 square foot shed. Reduce the side and rear yard setback from 1 foot to 0 for an existing paving. Increase the maximum paving in the front yard from 25% to 40% existing. Increase the max paving in the side yard from 25% to 40% existing. Increase the max paving in the rear yard from 25% to 42% existing. Reduce the rear yard setback from 3 feet to 0 for an existing 18-inch retaining wall.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting and mailing to Tom O'Brien. I know that some of members of the board visited the property. You can see that although there are many variance requests, the property is well maintained, and it also fronts on two streets, St. Johnlin Road and Wyndham Crescent. For example, the retaining wall in the back is about an 18-inch retaining wall, and it's really more decorative than anything else. Although it does hold back some dirt, it was really made, as you can see in the survey, more as a planter than anything else. The distance from a structure to the pool, which at the time was from 3 feet to 10 feet. As you know, the town of Smithtown changed the ordinance to 6 feet now, so it's certainly not as substantial as it was before. The asphalt drive in the front, because of the size of the lot, which is not a very large lot, it's 75 feet wide, the asphalt driveway does take up a substantial amount of the front yard. The pavers that are situated on the property are very decorative. They are used as part of the around the swimming pool, and the roof over the deck was constructed years ago, and it's part of the house. You can walk out from the house onto the deck, and there's barbecue and cooking facilities out there for summer parties and so forth. We don't think that the variance will create an undesirable change in the character of the area. The benefit sought by the applicant, could it be achieved by some other way? Not at this point. The house has been there for years, and so has these improvements. Whether it's substantial, it certainly seems like a lot of requests, but on the other hand, they were all done for the benefit and beautification of the house. Whether it would have any environmental effect, excuse me, no, it will not. And was the difficulty self-created? Yes, we built most of that stuff without the benefit of a permit. Again, since the board, or some of the board, I'm sure, has been out there and they see how well-maintained the property is, that I don't see it as being adverse to the neighborhood, and we ask the board for its favorable consideration.
Planning?
Our only concern was that the size of the deck on the neighbor. from the road, I mean, it looked less than 8.7 feet. I mean, I guess it is, but our only concern was that, yeah, the impact to the adjoining neighbor.
I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. The concern was the impact to the adjoining neighbor. The side yard setback of 8.7 feet.
8 points, yes.
That's all.
Okay.
I think it was what Mr. O'Brien's trying to say. When we went out there, it's a very, very large deck. I don't know how the neighbor feels about it. It's pretty close. It's high, so I don't know how the neighbor feels with that deck next to it. Do you know have any idea?
Well, I don't know that we've been contacted by any neighbors that are opposed to this. My clients tell me they haven't, and I guess we'll find out if anybody's here tonight.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen?
No question.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Israeli moves to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16834, Scott and Oralike Bartolado, 45 Clinton Avenue, St. James, location northwest corner of Clinton Avenue and Pierre Pont Street, St. James, property zone R10. Variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 23 for a proposed 60 square foot pergola. Reduce the minimum setback in the side yard for paving from 1 foot to 0. Increase the maximum side yard paving from 25% to 100%.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Tom O'Brien. Again, I'm sure the board has visited the property. The variance from 25 to 23 for a pergola is certainly not substantial in any way. It beautifies the property and the house, and it's something that is to the benefit, we think, of the community. The variance to reduce the distance from the paving to the side lot line from 1 foot to 0. Again, this is another small lot where the only way to gain some access, there is no garage, so that side paving supports cars and well, basically cars and other storage facilities. The variance to increase the side yard from 25% to 100%, again, it's because if you look at the survey and you see they're very small, it's a very small piece of property, and the distance from the rear of the house to the property line is 30 feet instead of 50 feet, and if that were the case, we would have more side yard, which would reduce the percentage from 100 to maybe 50 or 60%. We don't feel that this will have an adverse effect on the character of the neighborhood. Can this be achieved by some other method? Well, I guess, you know, we could take out some of the paving on the side, but would that really have any effect on the community? And it certainly would make it a hardship for the owners of the property, because that's the only place to park. Again, they don't have a garage. Whether the request is substantial, well, it might be substantial given the fact of the size of this property, but as I said, the property is has only a 30-foot rear yard from its closest point, So there really isn't much to do with this piece of property other than to set it up the way it was. Whether the difficulty was self-created, again, I guess we could chop out some of the paving on the side, but we don't think it would have any effect if the paving was let, if the board let it stay there. Excuse me. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Planning?
Madam Chair, in looking at the survey, there appears to be some encroachments onto the neighboring properties, and we just comment that we feel that they should be brought back into compliance and up to their zoning line, property line, rather.
I believe the encroachment, it's noted that it's to be removed. You're talking about the shed?
And the fence and the driveway might encroach onto the neighbor's property.
I don't see the other encroachment.
The fence and arborvitae's, or row hedges, rather.
You mean the little piece that's cutting off into the property there?
No.
Do you see it? I don't.
It appears that the fence along the east property line may be encroaching onto the church's property. That's the church parking lot for St. Philip and James Church. And then the other encroachment, it doesn't show it on the survey, but the driveway appears to be very close to the west property line.
You're talking about on Clinton Avenue, that fence shown there?
Well, it runs up along what's noted as Pierpont Street, but Pierpont Street is
Well,
actually
I don't know that that's, it's noted as a PVC picket fence?
it says gate PVC, stockade fence. The fence that runs along where the frame shed is, as shown to be removed.
Oh, okay.
So if it's their fence, it shouldn't be on the church property.
I don't know whose fence it is. I'll find out. Tom? It's not your fence. No, it's not our fence.
Does it belong to the church?
I don't know. It doesn't belong to us, though.
And the driveway, you think, is on the other?
No, it's hard to tell. It appears that it's running right on or close to the to the property line. So as you know, the board cannot grant variances for structures on someone else's property.
Yeah.
Well, we're removing the shed. I don't know where you see a driveway. An apron you're talking about? Driveway apron?
No, we're talking about. The driveway's on the opposite property line.
opposite.
It's on the west side, and it's where it says estate fence, that's not on the property line. That's inland onto the neighbor's property. The neighbor's last name's Bub.
That's not our fence.
No, correct, but the property line is further east than that fence, so we're just saying that it should be made certain that the driveway of your client is entirely on their own property.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application?
Yes.
Come up to the podium, please. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you to give me your name, spell your last name, and your address, and then I'll swear you in. May I
My
have-
name is Daniel Bubb. I live at 41 Clinton Avenue. I've lived there for the last 23 years.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I've,
It's spelling.
Daniel, B as in boy, U as in uniform, B as in boy, B as in boy.
Okay.
I have many different matters in pertains to this property. I would first like to say this is not pertain to the new owners of the property, but Thomas Migliori. As far as the property with the driveway, code enforcement of Smithtown was called by me and Suffolk County Police, and Thomas Migliore was told to stop putting the driveway on my property. Photo, Exhibit A. Documented by code enforcement, he was told not to do it. As soon as code enforcement left, he proceeded to put the driveway on my property.
Okay.
That is one issue. Now, you're asking for 100% variance? The driveway's on my property, and he's asking to go for a 25% to 100% variance? Are you gonna do that for all of Smithtown? Now, my second issue. The pergola, 25-foot to 23-foot would not seem like a big issue, but you have to take the rear yard variance into effect. You don't have an FAR. Back a year and a half ago, my family purchased a part of that backyard. That house was given a CO with a 50-foot backyard. When my family purchased this, unknown to my family, it gave them a 30-foot backyard. This is an R10 zone. Are you going to give them a variance for having a 30-foot backyard? It's not even on today's hearing. Now, third of all, going into the maximum side yard paving. With going to 100%, that means I got cars parked on my driveway? My property is going to be used as someone else's parking lot? I don't think that's what the town of Smithtown is designed to do. And with what I pay in taxes, I wouldn't even think the board would consider it. Now, with the pergola, you're going back to 1950 to give a 25-foot to 23-foot. With the backyard taken out of play, the house is too big for the piece of property. I got documentation here that I wrote the town attorney's office, the town zoning board, back in March 2012, and back in January 2012. All documented, delivered, registered
All
mail.
right, let me just stop you for a minute. First of all, they must have a CO on this house. The FAR is not in front of us at this time. So we can't do anything about that because that's not in front of us. The only thing that is in front of us is the 25 to 23 feet for the pergola and the paving from 25% to 100%. That's the only two variances. There's one other that is the side yard for paving from 1 to 0. Those are the only three variances they're asking for. And that's the only things that you can address at this time.
I would like to request the board to look at the CO, and the CO was given with a 50-foot backyard.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Tramarko?
Yeah.
Does this house, does it have a CO?
Yes, I have the property card here, and in 1991, the second floor addition was CO'd, 12291. I could submit the property card if you'd like. I think what the gentleman is talking about is, at one time, it's true that we did own that, not us and not, well, 2 or 3 predecessors in title before, they owned that 20-foot strip. The lady that owned the house, my understanding is, went into foreclosure. That lot was bought for taxes by that gentleman's family, and then my understanding also is that he offered it for sale back to my client, but at an exorbitant price, so my client refused to move forward and purchase it. If there was a problem with this, I would think planning or the building department, with all the notification that they got from Mr. Budd, they would have done something about it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the only thing that's in front of us, like I told Mr. Budd, is the paving, the 1 to 0, and the 25 to 23. That's the only variances they're asking for.
right,
Okay,
thank you.
you're very welcome. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Dudley moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16835, Taco Bell of America, Inc. Location, south side of Jericho Turnpike, east of Veterans Memorial Highway, Comac. Property zone, WSI. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special exception. It is a permitted use. They must meet all the criteria. If they do not meet all the criteria for this permitted use, they must ask for variances or waivers. So now I will read it to you. Request a special exception to permit a counter service restaurant. Variance of a special exception standard that requires the principal building conform to parking requirements for WSI. Variance of a special exception standard that requires the curb cut to be at least 75 feet apart to 19 feet apart, 25 feet existing. Variance of a special exception standard requiring parking setbacks to be at least 6 feet from the property line to 2 feet. Variance to reduce the radius of curbs from 3 feet to 1, where a parking spaces intersects a driveway. Reduce the parking spaces from 53 to 31, 38 existing.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York, attorney for the applicant. There's one number I'd like you to keep in mind as we go through this evening. I'm going to repeat it over and over. There's an existing building here. Taco Bell proposes to tear it down and build a new building that will be 129 square feet larger than the existing building. The required lot area is 20,000. We have 30,532. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, say that again for me, please.
20,000 is required. We have 30,532. Lot frontage at the setback line, 100 is required. We have 182. Road frontage, 50 feet. We have 185. Front yard, you're required to have 50. We have 50. Rear yard, you're required to have 50. We have 58. Side yard, you're required to have 5. We have 18. Total side yard, you're required to have 15. We have 136. Gross floor area, very important. 50% you're allowed. We have 8.6. Landscape area, 8%. We have 28% landscape area. Height of the building, 35. We have 24. Accessory building setback, you're required to have 10. We have 31. Landscape buffer, you're required to have 25. We have 25. And so we meet the requirements of the lot. If you recall, a month ago, you guys granted the Taco Bell on 347, and this is a mirror image of what happened there. You recall planning recommended against it, and I indicated to you that Taco Bell has 13,000 units worldwide, and certainly Taco Bell knows what's best for Taco Bell. They intend to take this building down, build a $2 million building in these tough times. I understand, again, that following the same course as the last time, they're recommending against it again. And I'd like to pass up to you at some point the approval that you gave on the other one, because to some extent, that approval exceeds or equals what we're asking for here. We're asking for the ground sign to be increased from 40 to 42. That was granted at the last application by this board on the 347. The maximum number of ground signs, I believe you gave us, maximum height of 3 wall signs from 15 to 22 feet on the last application. Here we're asking from 15 to 20 feet, 2 feet less. The number of ground signs was from 1 to 3. Here, I believe we're asking for 1 to 3 again. Wall signs from 1 to 6. I believe we got that at the last hearing. I'm going to pass that up to you, too. 1 to 6 was granted. Permit for signs facing a public, not facing a public street, you granted that the last time to Taco Bell. Then we asked again to permit the wall signs to project out more than 12 inches. You granted that at the last hearing. I'd like to pass up that to you. Make you happy.
I have a good memory. Thank you.
I guess you would want to go through the special exception requirements, the specific requirements. I don't know whether you want me to read them, or Pete or Tom will read them. I'll read them. The specific requirements is for a discotheque and counter-service restaurant. They're under the same heading, page 32333. I'm not going to read you the first one because the discotheque doesn't apply. Planting areas at least 20 feet in depth should be provided adjacent to residence districts and along the front property lines, and at least 6 feet in depth along the other property lines. I believe we meet that requirement. Not more than 2 curb cuts shall be permitted. They shall be at least 75 feet apart and shall be at least 75 feet from a residence district. It's 75 feet from a residence district. We're close to the 74 if you don't get into the radius. We're going to have a gentleman discuss the exact dimensions on that. Drive-in windows shall not be located along any building elevation facing a residence district. They do not. And queuing lanes shall be provided of sufficient length to prevent queued cars from interfering with traffic on any highway or in any parking area. The current queue on the current building is 8. We're providing 9 queues, so there's 1 more. No outdoor loudspeakers should be permitted except for drive-in windows. We're doing that. The loudspeakers shall not be audible from any residential lot. There's no residential lots around. No outdoor dining area or outdoor play area shall be permitted. We don't have that. For the general standards, the use shall be in harmony with and promote the general purposes and intent of chapter as stated in 322.2. If you had one there and you're building a new one, I think it may be in harmony. That the plot area is sufficient, appropriate, adequate for the use and reasonably anticipated operation and expansion thereof, but in no case less than the minimum area and frontage requirements or more than the maximum floor area or building coverage requirements as specified in the chapter. We meet that. Once again, I'm back to the 129 additional square feet. That the proposed use will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties in adjacent districts. There's a Wendy's next door. There's an abandoned gas station to the right. And I don't know if the strip club's still in the back, but I don't think they'll be upset about Taco Bell. The site is particularly suitable for the location of such use in the district with regard to fire protection, water supply, sewage disposal, accents, topograph, soil, drainage, and nearby land uses. One's there now. We're putting a little larger one up. that the characteristics of the proposed use are not such that its proposed location would be unsuitably near a church, school, theater, recreational area, or other place of public assembly. We have one there. We're putting a little slightly larger one back up. The proposed use, particularly in the case of non-nuisance industry, does not conform to this chapter's definition. It's not a non-nuisance industry. The access facilities are adequate for the estimated traffic for public streets and sidewalks so as to assure the public safety and to avoid traffic congestion. We had 38 spaces. We now have 31. And once again, I'm going back to the other Taco Bell. Taco Bell wanted the spaces hard against the building. They didn't want the customers, if they could avoid it in some cases, walking across traffic flow. So with the redesign, the spaces are hard against the building. However, we did reduce the number of indoor seats by 6 in this particular building from that which is currently there. I'm going on further. Vehicular entrances and exits shall be clearly visible from the street they are and not within 75 feet of the intersection of street lines at the street intersection. They are not. There are off-street and truck loading spaces, at least in a number required by the provisions of Article 9, but in any case, adequate number for the anticipated number of occupants, both employees and patrons or visitors, and further, that the layout of the spaces and driveways is convenient and conducive to safe operations. We have a traffic gentleman here who will discuss that if you'd like to hear it. That adequate buffer yards and screening are provided where necessary to protect adjacent properties. Once again, Wendy's, the abandoned gas station, I think we meet that requirement. That adequate provisions we made for the collection and disposal of stormwater runoff from the site and of sanitary sewage, refuse, or other waste, whether liquid, solid, gaseous, or other character. Obviously, we need health department and engineering approval. That the proposed use recognizes and provides for further specific conditions and safeguard required for any particular uses in subsection C below. We don't need that. It's not 12 within the coastal area. It will not have an adverse effect on the environment, and it's consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town of Smithtown, because we already have one there. Just step back a minute. With respect to the considerations on variance, it's not going to produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. One there, we're putting a new one up. Can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by a method other than variance? No, we have to come in and ask for these specific variances. Are the variances substantial? No, they are not. Whether the proposed use will have an adverse effect on the impact of the physical environment conditions in the neighboring district? No. And is the difficulty self-created? No, because we're here asking for the relief requested. I have a traffic study I'd like to hand up to you, if I may. If you have any questions, the gentleman here from the engineering company and a traffic expert.
Pass these down to them.
Also, we have a display that you wanted to see the old signs, I think, and then the new signs. We have a display. Okay. I'm going to ask Eric from Bola to provide you with drawings that show that, plus a display, so you can see what we presently have and where we're going.
Okay, pass these down. Look at these. Pass these down too.
That's it,
That's it.
unless you have some questions.
All right, let me go to planning.
You have to?
Peter, Mr. Hans?
Madam Chair, as the board's aware, as is the applicant, the planning director had prepared a planning advisory report. In short, the planning advisory report had recommended denial of the application based on 4 reasons. It says the parking is not adequate for the proposed use. There was a 41% reduction. Number 2, the proposed curb cuts are less in compliance than the ones that exist. Number 3, the approval may tend to set an undesirable precedent. And number 4, the board recently denied a similar application that met the parking and curb cut regulations. However, we'd just like to add that if the board is inclined to towards a favorable decision, we would just make several recommendations. One of the things is the Wendy's that's adjacent to the property, they're located to the east. Their driveway actually goes across the proposed Taco Bell's property. So one of the things we would be recommending is they're proposing 2 curb cuts on this. The one curb cut only serves the drive-through. We would recommend elimination of that second eastern curb cut because we feel that the site could function with one wide curb cut. The second comment is it's more of a question. Do you intend to still have Pizza Hut there, or is it going to be solely Taco Bell?
Right now, it's just going to be Taco Bell.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to really go through the traffic study because it was just given to me. Do you know the percentage of vehicles that are using the drive-through versus
May I have John Herder come up? I think he can address your questions. He's from Atlantic Traffic. He can address the questions of ingress and egress
Yeah, I
and
would
the
like to know
queuing
that
and so
too.
on.
All right, I'll finish up. I just got a couple comments. There was that question, the elimination of the curb cut. Also, there was concern about reuse by others, especially in that area. The Wendy's next door used to be a Roy Rogers. Some of the buildings, they're constantly
They can't come
changing
in this
brand
way.
over there.
They
So
can't come in this way.
there was concern if a more intense user goes in there, that the layout may not serve them as well.
Well, that's, if I may interrupt you, that's
Sure.
David Flynn in futuro, what's going to happen down the road, and
Sure.
nobody knows that. And I always object to that about what will happen. We're here on a specific application.
We're called planners, so we're supposed to
I know.
plan. All right, if you want to bring your expert.
Please.
Is this just to answer the question on the
Let
drive-through
me
usage?
just, I have to swear you in. May I have your name, please?
Yes, John Harder,
Spell your last name.
Harter,
Okay. And your address, John.
2002 Orville Drive North, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Just to answer the question on the drive-through percentage, this site is unusual. It has a lot of flaws. It's an older design. Normally, we have a drive-through where the traffic goes around the site and the building one time. In this case, you almost have to corkscrew. You're going around the building almost twice. So we didn't isolate drive-through traffic. It was quite difficult when we did counts. But from other sites, we've worked on 8+ sites on Long Island for Taco Bell. About 70% of the traffic is using the drive-through. So that's the idea behind having its own exit, is to limit, like we have a lot of excess or additional circulation, unnecessary circulation through the site today. We're trying to get that traffic out without recirculating, is the idea behind the second driveway.
What about the distance being so close to the Wendy's entrance?
Well, today we're shifting that about 6 feet from the location today, so I'd say that's really negligible in terms of modification. The site access is really flawed as well. What occurs, we did 3 peak hour counts, lunch, evening, weekday, and Saturday, about 7 hours of data. And what's happening is, even though we have a one ingress at the west end of the site and an egress at the east end of the site today, 40% of the customers are actually exiting the western ingress only driveway. So we're trying to formalize that driveway. It's dangerous today. You have people making a one-way driveway, narrow width. They're actually driving a two-way. So by formalizing that driveway, putting radii, enlarging it, we're really improving the safety of that existing western driveway. We've submitted to DOT. They've acknowledged that submission. It's under review. So it's really going to be at their discretion in terms of how the site is accessed and designed. But I think we're really improving that situation today from what is there today.
One last comment we had, if the board was inclined to approve it, the sidewalk width by the handicap parking stalls, by the main entrance to the store, it's only about 5 feet wide. We feel that if you shrunk the parking setback to the west property line, it would give you a little bit more of a sidewalk, so when the doors are opening from the restaurant, it would give somebody in a wheelchair a little bit more room to get to the handicap stalls. We don't think that changed anything. It's all within the parameters of the existing variances that you're asking for.
Hi, Eric Mine, Bowler Engineering here on behalf of Taco Bell.
Okay. Spell your last name. just-
MEYN.
Okay. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do. Yeah, we would consider that. The 5-foot dimension, just to clarify, is to the vestibule. So you're just going beyond the vestibule projection, the tower projection, and you would still have additional maneuverability, about 7 feet at the actual door swing. So we feel comfortable, but it's something again, we would have to relax the buffer that we're trying to maintain along the perimeter. So as long as planning's okay with the 7 foot at the door swing, and we're actually encouraging people also to use the front door. The handicapped pedestrians from the right-of-way would come across, and they'd be more likely to use the front door. The handicap parking is kind of equidistant from the two doorways.
I have a question. Maybe I don't understand this. You only have one driveway for egress coming in?
No, you have two.
Where's the other one? How can they come in here?
Here.
This is only going out.
Are you referring to the existing or proposed condition?
Is this the one I'm looking at? They're coming in here, right?
Correct.
They can't come in here.
Right, that's exit only,
Exit out. So this is the only one?
and that's two-way, yes. And that's what we found in the field, this western driveway. Even though it's ingress today, 40% of the people are actually exiting this today. So,
So are you telling me anyone that wants to come in and park here, they come in this way, and anyone that's going into drive-through window have to come in this way too and come around and then go in here?
correct. Correct. We'd have to have this eastern driveway could not be ingress, given the drive-through design.
You see what I'm saying? Mr. Hunt?
Sure, here's a survey that's of the existing conditions.
All right, you want, here, go ahead, let's see if I can,
And at the
they can see it.
western end of the driveway, or site, excuse me, is ingress only. And similar situation, you come into the drive-through toward the southern or back end of the site to enter the drive-through, but it's a very unusual configuration. You actually have to go around and out again like that. So this is a much more efficient design under the proposed condition. Come in, around, and out.
Is this the existing drawing?
No, sir, this is that's the proposed case, and this is the existing, in only.
If this is egress, why do you have stop signs?
This is both. This is ingress and egress, proposed.
This is both.
Ingress only today. We're trying to add the outbound here.
Okay. Steve, you want to see where I'm?
I think they'd be reluctant to give up the eastern egress. Taco would be, they would want that eastern egress.
Yes, then they have to come all the way around, yeah. Okay, is there anything else?
That was it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Ray moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. You know what? All right. Okay, just give us a minute to get this cleared up. This is the one I want to hold. I want to hold this. Did I close it? Okay, did I close the hearing? Yeah, okay. I just held this because I wanted us to look at this later. I held this so we can look at this. All right? Okay. Next case is case 16836. Richard Schneider, 20 Wren Drive. Okay. Location, east side of Wren Drive, south of Gold Drive, Hop Park, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum setback from any lot line from 6 feet to 1 for an existing 120 square foot shed. May I have your name, please?
Richard Schneider, 20 Wren Drive in Hauppauge.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
The shed I have in the back of my yard, I don't have a garage, so I put a shed up. I use it to store my outdoor supplies, tools, a lawnmower, bikes, all sorts of things you would put in a shed. So to me, it's an important thing that I have that, since I don't have the garage. The shed is located at, it's kind of a pie-shaped piece of property. It's all the way in the back of the yard. And it's far away from all, it's pretty much as far away from all the houses as you could get. It's placed 3 foot plus or minus off of the adjacent fence lines. So there's no impacts to any of the adjacent properties. It's been there for 15 plus years, and I've never had any complaints about it. So I think it's in a good spot, and it's very useful to me. It's important. I guess that's about it.
All right. The other thing, that stockade fence, is that yours?
No, the fences around the adjacent to the shed are not mine, no.
Oh, they're not yours?
No.
Okay. Planning?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, anything? No. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
It's readily moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16834, Carlisle Stonebridge LLC. Location, north side of Veterans Memorial Highway, west of Albadine Road, car park, property zone 21 and R23. Request a special exception for the modification of a golf course for a proposed 2,622 square foot clubhouse addition. Variance to increase the number of parking spaces per planting aisle from 20 to 27 spaces.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York. The purpose of the application is to expand the facility, the catering facility. Once again, there are no specific requirements, but if you'd like, I'll go through the general requirements. We're asking for an addition of 2,609 square feet to be used for the catering facility. Whatever the existing parking is, we've been tweaking that a bit, and will be a representative discussing the additional parking. There's more than adequate parking. We don't have to ask for any variance for parking. I want to go through, if you think I should, the general requirements once again.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm just trying. Go ahead.
That the use shall be in harmony with and promote the general purpose and intent of the chapter. The catering facility is there, the golf facility is there, and I believe there's 105 units, residential units. That the plot is sufficient and appropriate and adequate for use, reasonably anticipated operation and expansion thereof, but in no case less than the minimum area and frontage requirements or more than the maximum floor area or building coverage requirements specified in the chapter. The acreage is 133 acres. The road frontage is 1,179 feet. We meet that requirement. The proposed use will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties in adjacent use districts. I do not believe it will. This slight addition is not going to change anything. That the site is particularly suitable for the location of such use in the district with regard to fire protection, water supply, sewage disposal, access, topographic soils, drainage, and nearby land uses. It's in existence. Once again, it's a small addition. That the characteristics of the proposed use are not such that its proposed location would be unsuitably near a church, school, theater, recreational area, or other place of public assembly. No. That the proposed use, particularly in the case of a non-nuisance industry, this is not a non-nuisance industry. Access facilities are adequate for the estimated traffic from public streets and sidewalks so as to ensure the public safety and to avoid traffic congestion, and further that vehicular entrances and exits shall be clearly visible from the street and not within 75 feet of the intersection of street lines at the street intersection, except under unusual circumstances. We have more than adequate ability to park. There will be valet, I believe, if the number of people attending is over 200. We have a traffic expert here if you have any questions with respect to the ingress and egress to the facility. That there are off-street and truck loading spaces, at least the number required by the provisions of Article 9, but in any case, an adequate number for the anticipated number of occupants, both employees and patrons or visitors, and further that the layout of the spaces and driveway is convenient and conducive to a safe operation. One of the representatives have met with the Homeowners Association. They are here tonight. They've signed off on the parking. We have more than enough parking. They're happy about it. I believe they'll get up and indicate the this is acceptable to them. That adequate buffer yards and screening are provided where necessary to protect adjacent properties and land uses. Well, we have 133 acres. That adequate provision will be made for the collection and disposal of stormwater runoff from the site and of sanitary sewage, refuse, or other waste, whether liquid, solids, gases, or other character. Obviously, we have to get Health Department approval and DEC approval and engineering approval. Number 11 doesn't apply because we're not talking about C. If the proposed use, action, and development is within a coastal area, that the proposed use, action, or development shall be consistent with the local waterfront revitalization program. We're in the river corridor, but I don't believe we're in the LRP. We have to go to DEC. That the proposed use and development shall not have a significant adverse effect on the environment. This small addition in front of you will not change the environment, and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town of Smithtown.
Okay. Did you get the PAR?
Yes.
And
With respect to the parking?
yes.
Yes. And I'll have a gentleman, Mike, would you come up? He's tweaked that a bit. The planning, I'd like him to go over, how he's tweaked that consistent with the request of the head of the the members of the HOA.
Okay. May I have your name, please?
Michael Russo, 560 Walt Whitman Road, Melville, New York.
All right. Spell your last name.
RUSSO.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I can go through all the pieces, but I did get the recommendations of the planning board. But in conjunction with that, we had also had several meetings with some of the concerned community members. Met with them more than once. We also met last night along with the head of the HOA, who is here as well tonight. Going through all the items, their primary concern was, number one, was understanding the actual notice that they got, understanding the nuance of the parking island. Didn't understand it. Part of that was, and also the concern of the homes that are closest to the parking area. Mm-hmm. What are they going to see? They wanted to understand the technical documents. And we met with the second house in, number 80, Mr. Libiscioli. We met with him as well twice, along with Mr. Fox last night. Went through the items, and I do actually have new exhibits to show you. If you like, I can bring them up right now.
Sure.
The exhibit that is that you're opening up is two things. One is it's reducing the new parking down to 88 stalls. It is still intended for the new parking lot to be grass paved, primarily managed parking for valet. There'd be a single ingress, single egress, one-way traffic going through in and out of that area. Part of the recommendations that we saw from planning were two things. One about buffering with a berm to the neighbors, as well as reducing the entrance island to an ingress, not a two-way, going to the new parking lot. In discussion with the neighbors last night, we also had discussed about the intent that the town would like to, the town was suggesting a 10-foot tall buffer. They thought that would block their view of the western sky, and that they like to see the golf course, and they felt satisfied with a 5-foot buffer, and it's detailed on the plan there. It's 5-foot berm. It's staggered. It would be planted with conifers, top and bottom, so that the bottom line was, I don't want to see a car. But they also didn't want to lose the view of the golf course, which they live upon. And then conforming with the application, as you know, not only is it for the variance, but because of the special CNR that is in the approval for the clubhouse was coming to the zoning board for any facade modification. the rendering that is blown up that's sitting in front of me, plus I have small copies for you that illustrate this is a photo montage. What we did was we took an actual photograph of the building, and then we brought in the model of the small addition that'd be facing out towards the golf course to show that the building is still going to look the same architecture that is there now. And you virtually couldn't tell the difference where the addition is and the existing building. You have a before and after photo on that rendering. Just also to keep in mind, there's two additions. You have the one addition that's approximately 2,200 square feet, which is to the ballroom. And then you have another small addition of approximately 400 square feet that's in a covered area already in the loading dock that's caged currently, that would then be enclosed and made into occupied space for storage. That's detailed on the plans. The last item that's part of the application for facade improvement is one additional door that is adjacent to the porte-cochere. So there's direct access from outside directly into the men's locker room.
And planning recommended in favor of the application.
With a condition.
Pete, do you want to go?
Sure. As you're aware, you saw the planning advisory report, and from the beginning, our primary concern about this whole proposal has been the parking area. I don't think there was ever any objection to what they're proposing to the building. You know, they were proposing approximately 100 new parking stalls, but the first proposal that we saw seemed to be at the expense of the residents there, specifically the first couple houses. The parking area was being expanded 40 feet off of the property line. By the way, the code requires 50, so that had to be modified regardless. This plan, you know, certainly fulfills that. It has a 53-foot setback, so I mean that's what we were looking for. We recommended a berm, again, to protect the residents. If the HOA and the neighbors are looking for a 5-foot-high berm with some plantings versus a 10, you know, that doesn't seem to have any effect on the public. The nearest public road is, you know, Veterans Highway. The parking layout, if that's what works for the client, do you have that need for the parking over there? I mean, because you're above what the parking requirement is here.
That's correct. As you know, or may not know, the catering business, you can't always, especially a public facility, you can't always anticipate the ebbs and flows of how many people are going to show up to a golf outing, how many people are going to drive by themselves, and things like that. So we wanted to not only meet, but also put in a parking area, partially going with the grass pave as well because of the aesthetic and other things like that, and also being within the river corridor. We wanted to make sure that the area for valet could adequately handle the average party size, so it would minimally impact the existing parking.
I mean, you know, this is certainly, from a planning perspective, better. I mean, we might want to tweak a few things. You know, the 12-foot wide one-way flow. We don't know if, you know, that's the most ideal situation here. Are you proposing grasscrete
Yes,
for the whole thing, or just
for the whole additional parking. That's correct.
Okay. So my, I guess, my perspective on that would be you really wouldn't need all these curbs and islands then if you're using the grasscrete.
And we still have the 25% that we still have to handle, particularly for the DC application, which is pending right now.
Okay.
And we felt that it was a reasonable solution, keeping the edge of where the cars are versus where golf carts are and things like that. You know, kind of good fences make good neighbors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You know there's no approval for tonight.
Yes.
If you don't have a secret. I guess we should mark these as revised plans, right?
Received this date.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, to note, there is a revision date on the drawing,
There is.
so that you can cite revision number 2. Correct.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. I just want to make sure.
if it's okay with the board, I'd also like to give you a copy of the traffic and parking study.
Sure. Okay, that's good enough. Thanks. All right. I'll put the rest in the, okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. May I have your name, please?
Robert Wiener,
Spell your last name
Weiner,
and your address, Robert.
49 Redan Drive in Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Approximately 11 years ago, my wife and I purchased one of the 105 homes in the center of this golf course. We purchased it in anticipation of what we considered a way of life, where we had a clubhouse, we had a restaurant, we had 105 homes and great neighbors. We now find that the nature of the clubhouse is really being changed to a catering hall. So the reality of it is, instead of having a restaurant, we're going to have a catering hall at the entrance of our homes. The entrance is the method of egress and ingress is a 2-lane road running from Veterans Highway up past the clubhouse into the homes. By enlarging a catering hall or making it a catering hall solely to have events and have affairs, I can easily anticipate on any given time not being able to get to my home. There's going to be one roadway. It's got to maintain, if you have 200 to 400 people, there's going to be at least 200 cars arriving in close proximity to the same time. I'm concerned about the impact of this request on the value of my home together with the other 105 homes that are there. We were first told that, well, Carlisle is going to have a restaurant and catering. When we first moved in, there was a restaurant that also had some catering. And we live with it. No problem. You know? We all wanted to be neighborly, and we all wanted everything to succeed so that our development prospers and the value is enhanced. I feel that the present application to modify this solely for catering is going to decrease the value of the homes, change the nature of my neighborhood, and I respectfully request that this board consider those negative aspects before they approve the application being made at this time.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Someone else wanted to speak? Come up, please. Just come up and form a line so I know who you are. Come up and just, let me have your name and spell your last name.
My name is Louis D. Benedittis. That's spelled D-E-B-E-N-E-D-I-T-T-I-S.
Okay.
I live at 5 Redan Drive, Smithtown, which is within this community.
Okay. Raise your right hand first. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm also an original homeowner, and I was very concerned when I seen the first set of plans here because it affected the 2 houses that when you first came in. But since they modified it, without going into detail, planning went through that, and it's not really paved, it's grass, so it really doesn't look like a major parking lot. I have no objection to this. I feel that the success of something up there is very important, that because currently it's not doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Alan Fox. I'm the president of the Stonebridge Homeowners Association.
Okay, well, I think, but just spell your last name just in case.
FOX, just in
Okay.
case.
And your address.
And my
please.
address is 76 Redan Drive. I'm also an original homeowner in the Stonebridge residential community.
Okay, great. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, ma'am. Lou and I kind of got on the same page here, but I just wanted to reiterate a little bit. When we saw the parking schemes that had originally been drawn up, we approached the Carlisle people. There were 2 homes that would be, in our opinion, adversely affected by the original parking scheme. We met with them and their architect several times, and the scheme that you have received today is the revised scheme based on the meetings that we had. The 2 homeowners that are particularly, or would have been particularly affected by the original schemes have signed off on what you have in front of you today. So basically, that's all I have. I just wanted to reiterate what Lou said and say that we had worked with Carlisle and their architects to get to the scheme that you received today in there.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anyone else? Okay. You want to speak quickly, please?
Do you have any other questions that you wanted
No,
answered?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you should have done it before he came out. All right. Let me come up now, quickly, please. Let me have your name.
Thank you. My name is Robert Peck, 87 Redan Drive, Smithtown. I am also an original owner.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My concern is for the parking facilities there. I don't know how many parking spots we're talking about for this new facility, but the way, if you're going to have 300 people come to an affair, which is, I believe is the maximum, I haven't been supplied with the details, but let's just say 300 people are going to come to an affair at 2 people a car, which is kind of average. You need 150 spots. I don't know how many spots are presently
Well, let me just tell you,
proposed.
they didn't need a variance, so they have enough parking.
Well, let me ask the board here. Did you also consider there's 200 golfers that may show up on a given day?
Well,
Where are they going to park their cars?
we have to go by what is the ordinance, and the ordinance says that they have enough parking.
If that's considered, if that's your answer, so be it. But you have 200 golfers that are members there, they're going to drive, and they usually don't come 2 people in a car. It's usually 1 person in a car.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
It's really moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Do you have anything else here that you want to look at this? So, what do you want?
Property owner's not here, right? Is the owner here? The applicant?
The applicant, I'm here.
It's a property owner.
The property owner's not here.
Most Southwest Grill. Is that a corporation? Right. That's corporation. Most.
Yes, it is. Mike Walsh is the owner.
Yeah, but this is not adequate because there's a power of attorney that requires you to also sign off on it.
We need to have that region. He's giving me permission.
No, I know, but the power of attorney form has signatures for both.
Remember I told you about that Blumberg form?
It's a requirement.
So you remember I told you about that Blumberg form that you had to get done? You wrote it down.
No, I didn't. No, it wasn't me. I just thought I spoke to Sue. Sue said, oh, you.
I remember speaking to you at the counter, so.
Let me ask, there's no power of attorney?
It doesn't comply with the
Okay.
GOL. so I'm-
It has to be adjourned. Okay?
keys to the car. You know, it's the simplest thing in the world, but if you don't have them, you can't get in. Okay? Sorry about that. I mean, I'll help you out, you know, straighten you out on the form.
Okay.
It's very simple, but it has to be complied with. Well, you can get them at any office supply store, and you can call Flynn, and they will specifically tell you, and if they can't, they'll get in contact with me, and I'll give you the specific form that you need to get. It's very simple, but it has to be complied with, I'm sorry.
I thought it was a basic power of attorney.
I know a lot of people do. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
You're not the only one.
You need a power of attorney from me. That's what
Yeah.
you need.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd like to help you out, but we just can't accept it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, you know, I'll give you the first meeting in January. Okay? And just make sure that, you know,
All right, so I'll get in contact.
yeah.
With our department.
Go to the planning department, make sure you have the right form and it's,
Okay.
all right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me just tell you, the first meeting in January is January 8th. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Huh?
What's the case?
Mo, case 16838. Has to be adjourned.
These sign companies are shot.
January 8th, 2013. Okay? Go on. Okay. Next case is case 16839, Barbara Fusey and Loscalzo, 38 Hofstra Drive, Smithtown, location, east side of Colgate Drive, north of Hofstra Drive, Smithtown. Property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 48 feet for an existing 143 square foot addition. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 0 and total side yards from 28 feet to 22 for an existing 58 square foot shed. And your name, please?
Robert Lascalzo, 66 Northwoods, Wading River.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Would you like this lady to speak for you? This
I
woman
do.
to speak? Okay.
Sharon O'Brien, 54 Miller Place, Middle Island Road, Mount Sinai, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please, Sharon. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. We are before you this evening to maintain a 10.1 by 14.2 small one-story addition of 143 square feet located on the rear of the residence, 48 feet from the rear property line when 50 feet is required, and a small 58 square foot shed situated on the south side of the residence along the south property line. The one-story addition was created by Mr. Lacazzo's parents before 1990, and the shed was added afterward. We feel that our request is not substantial and the property is not located in an environmentally sensitive area. The benefits sought by maintaining the structures as they stand could not be achieved without the benefit of a variance. We feel by maintaining the structures as they stand, we are not creating an adverse effect on the environment and we are not creating a detriment to the neighborhood. There are hedges and mature trees along the property lines, creating a privacy situation. And if the board has any questions?
I'm just looking at this. The fences are not on there, I guess it. I'm just looking at the fences. They're on their property or is that chain link fence is whose?
The chain link fence on which property line?
Is it on their property line, or is it on the
The stockade fence, which is on the north property line, is definitely on our property. The rear is on the property line. The south is slightly over the property line.
Okay. Make sure it's on his property.
We would move it.
Okay. Any questions, planning? Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Rayleigh moves in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I'm doing. Okay, next case is case 16840, Almis Abassi, 28 Sycamore Lane, Comac. Location, northeast corner of Sycamore Lane and Indian Head Road, Comac. Property zone R10. Special exception for a home occupation. Variance of a special exception standard to increase the FAR for office space from 4,000 square feet, it's 400. 400 square feet to 491 square foot. Variance of a special exception standard to increase parking spaces from 2 to 4 with an additional driveway. Variance to reduce the minimum front yard parking setback from 40 feet to 6 Indian Head Road. Reduce the minimum front parking setback from 40 feet to 25 Sycamore Lane. Increase the maximum permitted front yard paving from 25% to approximately 60% Indian Head Road. Increase the maximum permitted front yard paving from 25% to approximately 35%. Don't tell me. They don't have a power of attorney? I don't know what he is. I have no idea.
This just is not appropriate. No, no. As I said, the law changed a few years back, so now you as agent have to, there are certain acknowledgements you have to make, which is on the form. Can't even write it in. It's a different form. It's a different form, yeah. I can get it to you. I can get it to you. That's no problem. If you call planning, we'll get you the exact form number. It's a Blumberg form, and it's written on the top, so it identifies exactly the form number you need. I don't have it memorized, the number.
No, you don't have to do the mailing. Is that what you're asking? No, just change the date. You don't have the correct power of attorney. Am I correct?
No, apparently not.
Okay. I'll do the same thing for you. I'll let you come to the next meeting, January 8th. I'll adjourn at 2. All right. Make sure you have the applicant or that a power of attorney is the legal power of attorney, all right?
Okay, yeah, no, you picked this up, I thought this wasn't stuff in traffic.
Okay. All right, has been adjourned to January 8th.
Kevin?
8th again. Okay. Yeah. And was he? Okay. Next case. Case 16841, Lisa Scala, 50 Cortez Lanes, Kings Park. Location, northwest corner of Cortez Street and Cook Lane, Kings Park, property zone RM7. Request variance to increase the maximum gross floor area from 25% to 30% for a proposed 406 square foot second floor addition. May I have your name, please?
Charles Scala,
And your address.
15 Cortez Lane, Kings Park.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
We're here, we'd like to do a little extension on the house, a second floor addition. Running out of space in the house, need an extra room. That's about it. What we want to do to the house is pretty much exactly what a couple houses right in our area have. I have some pictures if you'd like to see.
Okay.
If that helps.
Let me ask you a question. Are those pictures labeled?
Yes, they have the addresses on the back.
Do you know if they have variances?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just know that it's it's the addition we want to do, and it's pretty much what they have.
Okay.
Just this top part.
Mhm.
What we're looking to do.
Okay. I'm going to give you these back.
Okay.
You're going to have to write the case number
Mm-hmm.
and your name
Okay.
and when these pictures were taken, all right?
Okay.
All right, I'll just show and then I'll give it to Mr. Gargiulo and then he'll give them back to you and you can just fix them.
Sure.
All
And
right?
just to, because I know we're doing the FAR variance,
Mhm.
there's a house right on our block that's, I have another picture I could show you too. They pretty much knocked down the whole house and rebuilt this huge thing compared to what we want to do. It's really,
Yeah, well, you know, again, I say this all the time. I have no idea if they have variances or not.
well, I know they had, you know how like we had to put the sign up front, they had their sign, that new house that they're doing, they had the whole sign and everything like that.
Okay,
So I know they had to go through the whole process.
okay, good. All right, why don't you continue, and is there anything else? It's just for the FAR?
That's it.
Okay. Okay, planning?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen?
No.
Okay. Steve, would you ask them to just fill this out, please? You know, the case number and who took it and everything, and then he can give it back to you for the folder? Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
You want to do it on the front? Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
I don't remember if I closed it. Did I close it? I'm kidding. Okay. Next case is case 16842. Stephen Macilio? Macholo. Yeah, well, Shenandoah's not so easy either. 78 Bayberry Lane, Smithtown, location, west side of Bayberry Lane, south of Shirley Court, Smithtown, property zone R21. Variance to reduce minimum side yard from 16 feet to 3, reduce total side yards from 34 feet to 23 for a proposed 128 square foot shed. Okay, may I have your name, please?
Steve Mucciolo,
And your address, Steve.
78 Bayberry Lane, Smithtown.
Okay, Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
I just really want to, I don't have a garage. It's actually only a mudroom at this point, and there was an existing small shed where the intended shed is to go. And I had to take it down many years ago. When there was a dog run, it was all kind of mishmash between my property and the adjacent property, which is the town sump. So I had a survey done, and you know, applying for a variance to the building envelope, because my property is a unique shape. It's only like 100 by 565, and the back 90% of the property is at like a 45-degree angle. So I couldn't really put a shed in the back, 75 feet off the back, because of the topography. So I wanted to put it closer to where my usable area is, that I can get to everything. And as far as the side distance, if it was to go in 16 feet, it would be like right in the middle of my patio. So the way my backyard is set up, it's not conducive to have a shed under the existing code. I'm next to a sump. It's in the backyard. It can't be seen. It wouldn't have any adverse effect on the environment for sure. And you know, I don't think there's anybody that would have a problem with it.
Okay.
If there's any questions.
Planning?
Due to the fact that it's next to the sump there, we don't feel that it would have an undesirable or negative impact on the neighborhood.
Gentlemen? Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16843, Gerald Gordon, 14 Walter Court, Comac, location, west side of Walter Court and south of Exelia Courts, Comac, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 47 for an existing 420 square foot addition. And your name, please?
Robert McCarthy, 72 Stonehurst Lane, Dix Hills, New York.
Wait a minute. You're not the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Come on up.
I need the applicant.
Oh, right.
May I have your name
Sure, Gerald Gorman, Gorman,
and your address, Gerald?
14 Walter Court, Comac.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Now, would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's go back and spell your last name.
Yeah, MCCARTHY,
And your address.
72 Stonehurst Lane, Dix Hills, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Members of the board, Chairman, I'm here tonight to discuss an addition. It's a maintain off the rear. I'd like to note that there's a school adjacent to the property, actually abides right up against the back, exactly opposite where this addition had been built. The owner had bought the home previously 13 years ago, and that's how it's been. Most of the homes in that area have a rear bump out, and this actually squares off the house. When it was built, it came out another maybe a foot or so. So I don't see it interrupting any views or obstructing any other properties adjacent to it. It's got a huge open yard in the back, so we didn't really take any majority of the rear yard. We still maintained it. And again, like I said, there's a huge open field. The school back there is wide open, so there's no problem with egress or fire or safety. Reason for the addition, most likely, the residents, the way they're built there is dining room, breakfast area, and a front living area. There's no family room, so this was the family room that was added, and it worked out very nicely, I believe, when I've been in the home a few times. It's nestled in with French doors, built with today's construction methods. Thank you very much.
Planning?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am, no question.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Really moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Thank
motion
you.
carried. Thank you. Okay. We'll be going to the adjourned cases. Case 16819, Thomas Minerva, 22 Bruce Lane, North, Kings Park location, north side of Bruce Lane, east of Indian Head Road, Kings Park, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce a minimum setback of a proposed retaining wall from the property line from 4 feet to 0, 4-foot wall. Increase the height of a proposed retaining wall with a fence from 6 feet to 10 feet. Reduce the distance of a 4-foot retaining wall from 6 feet fence from 4 feet to 0 proposed. Increase the maximum permitted paving in the front yard from 25% to 30 existing. Reduce the minimum rear yard from 50 feet to 41 foot for a deck. Reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet, 34 feet for addition existing. And your name, please?
Thomas Minerva.
And your address, Thomas?
It's 22 Bruce Lane, Kings Park.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Give me your name and address.
Todd O'Connell, 1200 Veterans Highway, Hauppauge, New York, architect for Mr. Minerva.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. On behalf of Mr. Minerva, I'm here to request relief on several items on his present residence. Tom had inherited this residence from his dad and pretty much has been there most of his life at this particular house. As far as he could remember, this house was developed with a retaining wall. It was a wood landscaped retaining wall along the back of the property, which has a pretty substantial dive at the back. This wall had failed. So Mr. Minerva is looking to basically restore a wall so he can continue to use his rear yard safely. But we're trying to make the wall a little bit more comfortable for the neighbor. The previous wall was just a straight, vertical, extremely high wall. So we felt by stepping the wall which, to 2 walls, would be a little bit more pleasant to the neighbor that's down the hill below him. And he's doing that even with the, with losing some of the rear yard that he once had. We just felt that this was the, the best thing to pose towards the neighbor, felt it would, lessen any impact to the neighbors in the surrounding neighborhood. We looked at a lot of other options to accomplish the goal of the retaining wall, but, we feel that we're pretty aggressive with the proposal that we've already have given you in terms of what he's willing to give up. He is losing a substantial part of his yard, which he, used to have. The addition that he built on his house that also requires a variance is currently being used for an expansion of his kitchen, which is on that part of the residence. This is a split-level house. If you turn to the plan of this particular residence, you will see that there's essentially no place for a dining room, and that's what this addition serves as his only dining area in the present residence. Unfortunately, the residence, the backyard is skewed, which brings the addition, the one-story addition, too close to the property line. But that's really the only place that a dining room could be accomplished in the house with the floor plan that it previously had. The deck itself, obviously people like to have decks. It's the only place that you can access from the kitchen to the deck. It's not excessively large. We feel it's, it's a fairly small deck, but it's enough to put a small table and a barbecue where he doesn't have to walk down a flight of stairs from his dining room to access the outdoor entertaining areas. The front of this particular residence pretty much doesn't meet code to begin with. It's extremely small. It is a pie-shaped piece of property. So to accomplish the requirements in paving in a front yard, next to impossible. We barely have anything more than a driveway for one car and some steps getting to the door, and that's already putting us over the limits for the impervious surface. So with all of these items, we really feel that it's not going to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. We don't feel that we're creating or devaluing the surrounding neighborhood. Yes, we agree that this is created not by Mr. Minerva, but it is an issue that he inherited that he needs to take care of. So we don't feel it's going to have an undesirable change to the neighborhood, and with that, we would ask your granting of this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning?
Madam Chair, I don't think the planning department has any issues with the decks or the addition or anything like that. The primary concern I think we would have is the impact on the neighbors. It's listed as Romano. Typically, the board is concerned when you have a 6-foot fence on top of a retaining wall. In essence, this would be a 10-foot high wall. What is there now? Is there a... You said there was a retaining wall?
It was a landscape retaining wall that was always there that has, if you look down a hill, you'll see it's failed. It is
Right.
down into the neighbor's property.
And what is that height?
Oh, it was, at the highest point, it was at 10 foot. It's, we're not looking to change the height that
So
was
the,
there.
the wall itself is 10 foot?
No, it goes from 4 and it grades up to about 8 at its peak, but the neighbor behind me has tall trees that go way above it, and it's no impact to them whatsoever. I spoke to them personally.
All right, because this is the most common complaint we receive at the planning department is when you have a neighbor downhill and now there's a 10-foot high wall next to them, especially when they have a pool 10 feet away. You're blocking my son, all that kind of stuff.
We actually are enhancing what he previously was used to. Just a big solid wall, and we're stepping it into Mr. Minerva's property, so they don't have to have this vertical wall 10 foot high, which is why we're creating that stepping nature to try to soften the effect on the neighbor.
So you're proposing two 4-foot walls?
Correct.
Now, is there any reason that the one wall that's right on the property line, one of the concerns is that down the road, neighbors change. If you need to maintain that wall or do anything to it, you're in essence forced to go onto their property to actually do that, which could wind up a concern down the road. Is it a possibility to step it off a foot or 2 feet just so you have the ability down the road to actually maintain it?
Well, I'm sure that is a possibility, but again, we're putting that lower section of wall in place of where the previous wall was. Any further diminishing would just project further and take away from his yard even more than we were originally looking to do. So, that portion is only a 4-foot section of wall, and we understand the concern, but we're not looking to make it any, more than what was there. We're helping the situation.
No, I agree with you, but it could pose a problem to your client or any future owner of that property that may have to, obviously these walls over time do fail. They will have to maintain it at some point, and depending on how the relationship is with the neighbor, they may not be able to do that.
Sure. You know what he's saying is this wall right here. So he wants to know if you pull that back a foot or two. So if you ever have to get back here to do something to the wall.
Oh, and not put it directly on the line.
Right on the line. My client wouldn't be opposed to that, as long as it's just that the second wall, we don't want to take any more of his yard away.
That's a function, I think, of engineering. Do you know how far those two walls are separated?
Usually has to do with the angular repose of the soil itself, which is approximately a 30-degree angle, which is pretty much where the wall is set. By pulling that lower wall, I now have to extend the footings and the base of the wall down further, which is going to impose an additional expense on the wall to my client.
What's the distance right now between the two walls?
The distance between the two walls is 10 foot.
10 foot, and then you're basically 4 feet of grade higher?
That's correct. Yeah, and it's a 30-degree angle on the angular oppose. So it just extends the footing slightly that has to go down.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, there's nothing, they can move the walls closer together.
Just as a follow-up, the fence that's there now, is that chain link?
Chain link.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Have a good night.
Motion carried. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, okay. That concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you.